I had only been back with my battalion 6 weeks when we went in. We left some of the old trenches at about 1:30 a.m.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Life, Business and Bodybuilding. Thank you all for tuning in once again. I'm blessed yet again to have an amazing guest with me on the couch today in my beautiful home. This man, young, good-looking fella, very cultured man, a very promising rising star in the AFL before a knee injury kind of set him on a different path. He's a movie buff, like myself. Very, very, I don't know what you could say, a deep love for Superman and Star Wars, myself included, so that'll be an interesting conversation. He's often been compared to the main actor from Vikings. I think his name's Travis Fimmel or something. Clearly better looking. Arguably the best mullet in bodybuilding today. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Taylor.
G'day, everybody. Mate, thanks for having me.
Welcome, mate. Thanks for traveling all that Adelaide to be here for me.
No worries.
Now, I'm going to dive into something with you. I have led a toothless life. A toothless life. I have never bitten into anything. I was waiting. I was reserving myself for later on. And I've just noticed my teeth have gone. Thoughts?
I have no idea.
I've thrown you straight in, haven't I?
I have no idea. I was thinking, is this something I've said? But I don't think it is.
Nah, I stole it.
Read it to me again.
I've led a toothless life. I've never bitten into anything. I was waiting. I was reserving myself for later on. And I've just noticed that my teeth have gone.
I feel like I'd break that down and say, like, if you wait too long for the moment, it passes you by. That's kind of what it speaks to me. Yeah.
Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you can dive into a lot of stuff with that, because it's like so many people wait for the right time to start something or wait for the right time to make a move on something. But at the end of the day, like, you're just gone. You're going to have blunt teeth. How's it going to happen?
Yeah. No, that's an interesting quote.
Have you had moments like that?
Yes and no. Probably more as it pertains to myself in my own personal endeavors.
Yeah.
With obviously footy and bodybuilding. In terms of coaching or in terms of like professionally, probably the opposite.
Yeah.
I've probably been almost guilty of being overconfident in my abilities prior to when I should have been, rather than the latter. Whereas it's kind of reverse on the other side of things when it pertains to me personally.
Yeah. So what happened with footy? Like, obviously I've done a little bit of research and
well, for those who are listening that have listened to me before, I've spoken about it. I feel like I'm turning slowly into that. I was going to make it. And
I was something special.
Yeah. Look, when it comes down to it, like, I think that I had potential to be a good mid of the range player in the AFL. Potentially drafted late or rookie listed. I don't think I was going to break the world apart, but I've always had that work ethic. When I've been given an opportunity, I will see it to the ends of the earth. So if I felt like I was in that system, I feel like I would have done well. But yeah, just started playing Aussie rules and numerous other sports, but footy was my main one when I was about 4. And kind of played all the way through till 15, 16. Both for like regional, so like the SANFL kind of juniors for Norwood Redlegs, District League, which was like Paynham, and then for school, both at primary school and high school. And I think just the accumulation of how much I was doing, like I was basically a professional athlete that wasn't being paid with how much you're doing these, like how much these kids do.
Yeah.
Then obviously training in the gym as well. I think I just became overworked and ended up tearing my ACL, my meniscus and my medial ligament, and breaking my femur all at once in a intercol
on the field.
in an intercol game, which is kind of like the big grand final of school football. It's like the rivalries, kind of like the Super Bowl of school football, private school football. And so that pretty much rendered me not to my belief at the time, but that pretty much rendered me like damaged property. Like I had genuine conversations with like recruiters that said, why would we, if there's a version of you right there that isn't injured, hasn't been injured, there's not that risk. So it was a pretty stark realization immediately, but hindsight, I suppose everything happens for a reason in that sense.
Yeah. Is that what turned you into bodybuilding? Is that what led you on that path?
Yes and no. I'd always been interested in bodybuilding from a visual standpoint. Like I'd loved Arnold growing up.
Yeah.
I'd always been interested in growing muscle. Like even playing footy, I wanted to be muscly. I don't know where it comes from specifically, but in terms of the competitive side of bodybuilding, that's when it kind of started to. I was training in the gym for footy, and I had some goals aesthetically with my physique, just to impress girls and to look good on the footy field. But yeah, once
now we just get impressed by guys, right?
It's the complete opposite. Once I did that injury, it was probably 6 months into that rehabilitation where I was supposed to be doing my rehab, and it just turned into hypertrophy specific training. So yeah, kind of went out the window there.
So arguably, like, and again, I think a lot of people think this as well. This is not blowing smoke. Arguably one of the best prep coaches in the country now, with everything that's been happening, and you sort of jumped on the scene relatively quick. I've been around this industry quite a while, and it's always nice following people and seeing what they're up to and that sort of stuff. When did you dive into that aspect? Was it obviously training and stuff first, and then you just were like, this is where I'm going to go? Yeah,
I honestly never had I feel like with social media today, everybody has this, I'm going to be here at this point, I'm going to be there at this point, and this plan. And then, even Arnold speaks about it. You have this like 10-year plan or whatever. And while I think for some that would be really helpful, for me, I never had a plan of I want to be this prep coach or I just really fell into firstly helping my mates, because what I was doing with footy, moving out of that, I basically started to build myself, and then they'd be saying, okay, how have you done this? What are you doing with your nutrition? So it started kind of piquing my interest in regards to physique development outside of the sports codes, specific to like football, basketball and whatnot. But it was initially just helping as a 16, 17-year-old, back in 2016, 2017, just helping my friends and my teammates or former teammates do what I was doing to a certain extent. And then, that just piqued my interest through school and whatnot. And I just became more infatuated with the idea of just taking the physique as far as it can go within reason. And that led me to kind of the pharmacology side of things and kind of almost enhancing yourself as like a superhuman. There's this aspect of human potential that so many don't ever get to kind of involve themselves in. And obviously there's risk and health that you have to,
how to look like Superman.
Yeah, how to factor in. Probably there's some connotation probably there. But so really just started out helping my friends in 2016, 2017. And I created Taylor Crabtree Fitness in 2016, more so as like a way of showing what I was doing, because I felt, which right or wrong, I felt like a little bit resentful to me not being able to play in that team environment anymore, nor having the desire to, but all my mates continuing to kind of engage themselves and whatnot. And I was like, I wanted to show them I'm still doing something, like I'm doing this. So that was where YouTube came from. And then it just kind of transitioned slowly into a little bit more opportunities from a coaching standpoint, just really spending a lot of years just learning myself and through experience. And that led to, in 2021, I tweaked it to Crabtree Performance, and that's pretty much where it became not about me, about others. And I was still working full time there. On the side, I was doing coaching, and then 2022 is when it went full time. And it does seem, I think from the outside, it seems very quick, but for me, it's kind of felt like it's felt like a lifelong pursuit, to be honest. Of course, yeah. I think in hindsight, and I say this to a lot of my athletes when I'm onboarding them for the first time ever, with everything that's happened in my life with regards to myself personally, or how I've been brought up, or leadership, options, or things I've been able to do, I think it's led me to be a coach. And I think I'm not a super universal person. I'm usually quite pessimistic and realistic, but I genuinely think that I was put here to help others in this aspect. Yeah, because I just have so much passion for it, so much love for it, and the faith that athletes show, putting, like, even with Jeremy, I'm sure it's not an easy thing for someone older than you to put, their belief in someone younger. And it can be us, even myself, if I was to do that, you'd feel like a little bit from an ego standpoint, it'd feel a little bit strange, but you know, I just, the sense of responsibility I have for the people who place that faith and trust in me is just almost overwhelming. And to be able to do what I do, I think is just, I was just meant to do it.
Yeah. So you said you like this amazing passion to help people and everything like that. Like, where do you think that stems from? Is that something that you may not have had younger or anything?
I definitely didn't have it younger, at least from an external standpoint. Like, it wasn't something I noticed or was aware of. I've always had deep passion for what I do, but it was much more internalized and selfish passion for like myself. But like, I suppose I didn't have the opportunity to help people as a teenager as much as I do now. But it was definitely, and I had this conversation like the other day, in that I was always, which I would have never admitted at the time, I didn't really care about the team's success. I just cared about my success. I just wanted to be the best I could. You know, the team wins a grand final. We won, my district Paynham team won 3 premierships, which, you know, I absolutely loved. Yeah. But if I wasn't winning the best and fairest, if I wasn't winning the best players on game, I cared more about that than I cared about which you'd never admit, because, you know, that's not the cliche that footy, but
team sports.
Yeah. it was just about me. And
it's funny, isn't it? Just sorry to interrupt you just quickly. It reminds me of something where it's like, a lot of time, yes, it's all about the team, but each individual has to play their role in order for the team to succeed, right? So if you didn't feel like you were at the very best or the very best playing that role, then the team would have failed anyway, right?
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, I was definitely more personally minded and quite selfish, because I just had such a deep desire to succeed, and I didn't really like the fact you had to rely on others to, like you said, do their role. And if they weren't doing their role, then that would impact your ability to do yours to a certain extent. So, and then, I suppose once I did start, I've always wanted to help people. Like, I think even though from a sporting aspect, I was hyper competitive and still am hyper competitive with regards to myself and what I do, I always had a passion to help people to some extent, whether it was, when I was growing up, I either wanted to be a PE teacher or a policeman or a fireman, or, you know, and it's just moved in this route.
Superhero.
Yeah, superhero. So
Jedi.
I think there's, I'm not sure. You'd have to sit down with a therapist and explore the correlation between those, but it definitely probably, you know, has some relation to how I was brought up with regards to that exposure.
Yeah. So with you've probably already answered this, so forgive me if you did, but like in 2022, when you made that jump to go full time, was there a moment that clicked where you're like, I'm really fucking good at this. I'm going to like make this something really special, so you could actually transition everything to online?
Honestly, not.
Yeah.
As much as I would have loved there to be that light bulb moment, I think it was more so I am financially secure enough to now do this full time.
Yeah.
And I think that if I do put my effort into this, whereby I was putting my effort into something I wasn't passionate about, working for a supplement company full time, then surely
that's what you were doing. Sorry to clear it up. Yeah,
I was working for Australian Sports Nutrition in Sydney.
Awesome.
Kind of doing store management and state management there. But I just thought to myself, look, I'm making enough to support myself if I don't have this full time job. So surely if I put the 38, 40 hours that I'm doing for this job into what I'm actually passionate about, being coaching and helping others and building that service, then it will only progress. Yeah. And I still probably, even to this day, you know, I really appreciate when people say nice things about my ability, but the imposter syndrome I have is pretty large, and I don't think I'll ever think that I think there's things that I do well, but I don't think I'll ever sit down and go, yeah, I'm amazing or anything like that.
Why not?
Great. I don't know. I think that it just comes from probably my upbringing. Yeah. And just constantly thinking that there's more that can be done or ways to improve. Like, there's definitely moments I sit with myself and I'm like, you've done a good job here, but I'm definitely glass half empty. Like, instead of I've done a good job here, what didn't I do as well as I could have? Yeah.
Do you know Ed Milet? Big entrepreneur guy in America, like public speaker. I love listening to that sort of stuff. And a lot of people might be like, oh, it's all hoo-ha, but whatever nuggets you take from it to improve your life, who gives a fuck, right? So, and I've written a few down, we'll go through later, but one thing he says that I love is blissful dissatisfaction. Yeah. So it's like, I'm so happy with how my body is now, how I look, besides being 40 and broken. but it's going to get better.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So same thing with the business, So even with my thing with Bear Bros or whatever, I love what I've created, but it can still be better. So I'm really happy where it is. If I were to touch wood, leave the earth tomorrow, like I'd be really happy with what I did with it, but it's got like legs to go. So that way I think you're always in a state where you're enjoying the success of what you're doing, as opposed to like, let's say you achieve something, and as opposed to kind of celebrating that win, you kind of just go, okay, what's next?
Yeah.
Are you guilty of that?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's very much a what's next or what
I'm not saying that's a bad thing, obviously.
Yeah, I to a certain extent, I would love to be able to sit with things and be kind of gratified by them for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Like post season, looking back on the athletes that have competed and previous, it's, there's a moment of gratification for what I've been able to do, with them, and then also what they've been able to do themselves. Like I feel very fortunate to have the opportunity to work with people that, really put their faith and trust and allow me to do that, for them. But it's definitely more, okay, the season's done now, and now I'm focusing on the next one, and now I'm stressing myself about what's to come next and how much more I've got to learn, and what I can do for this person. It's not a very, and I think that just comes through, like it's probably more so related to the relationship I had with my dad when we were growing up. It was very much, what you need to do better from a loving capacity, but what you need to do better as opposed to what you're doing good.
Yeah.
Which I've had this conversation with him many times. As a child and as a teenager, it's challenging to be like, I just got 40 touches and kicked 3 goals. It's like, yeah, but you gave away this free kick and you did that and could have done this better.
Yeah.
And it was that for years and years and years. Whereas my mum was the opposite. So I think the maternal side of things gives me that ability to be somewhat gratified and take pride in the things I do. Mum was very much like that. And dad was more so, you need to be better, you can be better. But it was always from a loving standpoint, even if it was relatively hard.
Yeah. I had really encouraging parents.
Yeah.
Dad was always like, do it. If you fail, all good, whatever it may be. Mum was very like on the safe side. Even little things, whether it's starting business, whatever, dad's like, cool, let me know how you go, whatever. Mum's like, Ryan, you're doing fine. You don't need to do this. Or she messaged the other day and she goes, I saw you hurt yourself in the gym. Why did you do that? And I'm like, Mum, it was just a fucking leg press, whatever. So it's funny how it is like that anyway. But speaking of your dad, it's funny because like there's a story I wanted to say with my dad, but I'll ask you first where it's like, was there a moment, I guess, in your life that when was the first time you learnt about business? So it's like, have you had mentors in the past? Was either of your parents like that, or was it a brother or something where you kind of didn't know what business meant? And then it's like, okay, this is how I earn money. This is how I do it. This is what a CEO is. And then you're like, cool, okay, I understand what business is.
I think whether or not I was aware of it or not, have always been pretty exceptionally business-minded without specifically wanting to create business, more so wanting to create ways in which I can do my passions. So from a young age, like I would have car wash things that I'd do.
Yeah, cool, man.
Those types of things where I was trying to make money, but it wasn't coming from I want to be rich. It was just coming from I want to do this thing and I want to feel professional about it. And I think that stemmed from mum and dad. Like they both business owners themselves.
Yeah.
Dad's a financial planner, so I've kind of always been revolved around money and
finances
and
understood
stuff like
what
that.
it was. Yeah.
So but it never specifically clicked that this is how you make business, or this is how you run a business, or this is how you do anything like that. It was more so just a kind of evolution. But I always think I have been somewhat financially minded, or even when I was younger, my parents would give me $20, or all of my mates' families would give them money and go down to the store and buy something when we're going out to ride bikes, and they'd all buy chips and soft drink, and I'd get them to buy mine, and I'd keep the money. So, and that's still
arsehole / good businessman.
So, but it was never, I'm going to do this because I want to have X amount of money. It's just like, this is something I'm doing. I don't know. So, but yeah, I've definitely been influenced by my parents in regards to their businesses. So,
yeah, it's funny. So, like, when you're in year 10, you can do an elective year 11, or year 11, you do 12. So I was in year 10 doing year 11 business management. And one of the assignments, for example, was to create a business, determine who the CEO was, your employees are here, where's the profit and loss, all this sort of stuff. And not ever really been around it as a 16-year-old kid. Just I'm sitting there crying at the table. Dad's like trying to explain stuff to me, and I have no idea. And he's sort of taking a big breath, and he's going, WWE. And I'm like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I know what WWE is. And he goes, Vince McMahon. And I go, yeah, I know Vince. He goes, who's Vince? I go, who's the CEO, Chief Executive Officer. You go, and who's The Rock and Austin? It's like, oh, they're employees. And it's like, how do they make their money? Well, they wrestle night after night at WrestleMania, this sort of stuff. And it's like, who else does Vince have to pay? And it's like the venue hire, the people setting up the ring, all this stuff. And he's just going deep into the structure of what World Wrestling Federation at the time, what it was. All these employees, Vince has to do this, Vince has to do that. And then I was able to then transition that into this other little product or whatever. I got an A+ on the exam. And I was like, I love this. And it's funny, I've done this a few times before, even like training clients, and you try and not get inside their head, I don't do that, but you try and relate something to them that they can understand and then like take it along with it. I found it so interesting. So that was one moment where I sort of started to, I think, learn about business. And even now when you're taken into Bear Bros or into, coaching or this sort of stuff, I do a little bit of online, but nothing like what you guys do. Yeah. I'm still a face-to-face guy, but with Bear Bros, just the whole thing about, stock and ordering things and profit and loss and charge this per head and this is where it goes. And then it's like, all goes to tax. And you're like, oh, great. Whoever told me to start a business, this is shit. So it's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, I think with stuff like that for myself, I think because of Dad specifically, I never realistically had that. I just always have felt like I've known analytically profit loss, employer, employee, and it just seems natural to me. But
you sort of got employees now, don't you? I guess Jake and Jez are part of the team, and just the two.
Yeah,
two of them. Yeah, two good boys.
We're going to be bringing on a female coach probably in the later stages.
Yeah, I thought you might have. Yeah.
So that's exciting, but just those two for now.
Yeah, nice, good man. There's another one I touched on before. What we're saying, I said it on my little Wednesday wisdom thing, and I'll read it to you. So I stole it off Brad Pitt, and this kind of goes off what we sort of said before. But I don't know if any of what we do matters in the end. What I do know that matters is the people we hitch ourselves to and the indelible mark they leave upon our very being. So the question we need to ask ourselves is, what's more important, the journey or the destination? The answer is the company.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
I think that's definitely something I can relate to more so as I've moved into my later 20s. Like I'm 27 now, turned 27 in May.
Still a baby, bro. Yeah.
For me, the knees don't feel that way. But, younger me definitely didn't, 18, 19, 20, 21, didn't really have as much desire for the company or lack thereof.
Yeah.
But as I've moved through 20s and traveled and experienced more life, I think the thing that I care about most is the company that I keep, specifically my family and friends. And I think that is, when you're coming through social media or you kind of grow up with social media like I did, like right at the cusp of Instagram starting to take off. And, I was posting on social media in 2016 and 2015 and 2014, gym stuff. And while it seems, relatively normal for a 15, 16, 17-year-old to do that now, back then it was, the year 12s and 11s being like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
Why are you doing this? Who now reach out to me for advice, by the way.
But, exactly. Thank you.
But, as I kind of, got older, I really don't care a lot for the external.
Yeah.
Obviously there's you want to have positive reputation. You want people to think nicely of you, but I really don't care that much if somebody doesn't like me that doesn't know me. Like I put a lot of stock into what people say to me that do know me. And then the family and the friends and the close-knit, relationships that I have are probably the most important thing to me in the world.
Yeah. I'll go back on that in a sec, but something you just said there where you don't really care for the people that, either put hate on you or whatever, where they don't know you from a bar of soap. Obviously, your following has increased a bit. You're around that 50K mark. Do you get a bit of hate every now and then? Obviously, what you post is not controversial. Yeah. It's not, you know what I mean? It's very based around business and your truck, which we will get to. But yeah, continue.
Yeah, definitely. Not so much these days. I think, to be completely honest, my Instagram following has probably stayed the same since 2021 or so.
Yeah.
It's been around that 50, 52K. But what has changed is the quality. Yeah. So when I used to do YouTube and get a couple 100,000 views on some transformation videos, that's kind of what grew my following initially. And it was a lot of, just flash in the pan, people taking pictures of themselves in the mirror and stuff like that, that kind of would critique you and say this. Like I remember there's one specific thing that I always remember. I was 18 years old and somebody sent me a link and it was a Reddit thread about me at 18 weighing 86, 87 kilos, but I was able to bench 160 kilos.
Fuck yeah.
And I'd always been naturally strong and pressing, but I was natural at the time. And they were like, douchebag, fake natty, blah, blah, blah. And then there was comments underneath it that were like, he actually looks like shit in person. I've seen him in person, but online he looks great. So there was that kind of stuff back in the day where people were kind of talking about me that I was aware of. I've not often had anybody actually confront me with dislike or hate.
You mean face to face?
Yeah, or even online, like, in terms of like direct communication. I think most of the communication that I've had or experienced that is, negative towards me has been to somebody else that I've then heard it later, which I guess, I don't know if they don't want to confront me. It's got something to do with my own personality, which I don't mind, but yeah, not so much these days.
Does it get you just a little bit or not?
It used
honestly?
to a lot. Now I actually like it. Like if you're talking about me and I have no idea who you are, then that's on you. Like Michael Jordan isn't sitting there going like, what's this, third rate player in the NBA, thinking or saying, you don't, the lion doesn't concern themselves with the opinion of a sheep. Not that I think that I'm a lion, but I'm not out here talking about that person.
Yeah. Because you're gonna give a fuck.
Exactly. I genuinely, I do actually feed into it a little bit. Like it does.
Yeah.
If somebody has a problem with me that does not know me from a bar of soap, I'm like, oh, tell me more.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's someone who like I deeply care about and they're like, what the fuck are you doing? I'm like, oh, my soul.
Yeah, then you're like, okay, maybe I should look at this.
Yeah,
it's like, or if it's a best friend, if it's Jeremy that pulls you up, for example, it's like this, you're like, maybe I should look at what I'm doing just in case because I value this guy.
That would stop me in my tracks. Whereas everything else just kind of fuels me forward.
Yeah. I'm gonna butcher this. I can't remember. It was literally a reel I said this morning where it was. Sorry, I read this morning where it was like 3 types of friends you want. Yeah. One was like someone that can call your bullshit. Another one that can be a confident, where you can say anything to and trust that information will be as it is. And then another one that's like a ride or die, where it's like you ring them at 3 a.m. and it's like, hey, I need you to grab your stuff, meet me here. Mm-hmm. And they don't say why, they go, on my way. Yeah. That's Jez to me. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So there's a few times where we've called each other on a shit and for a second you go, fuck you. Yeah. Damn it, you're so right. Thank you. And then it's like you move on. I'm sure you guys are the same. You guys know each other longer than we have. So
our relationship has been really like an interesting one because it's just gone through different stages, but it's always remained at the core of it.
Because you were friends before client boss sort of thing, right? Yeah, of course. Yeah.
It's always remained like a brotherhood at the core of it.
Yeah.
Like he does genuinely feel like at times an older brother, at times a younger brother, both fatherly at times, and then vice versa. So it's always been interesting. I initially just knew him from social media in Adelaide. He's a couple years older than me.
Yeah.
I first met him at a Steve Cook meet and greet at Flinders Park at Massive Joe's. That was the first.
What a flashback. Is he still alive? Is he still doing good things? Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, good man.
He was natty, wasn't he?
Who knows? I don't think so. I first met him there and Jeremy was a big fan of Steve.
Yeah.
So much so that his Instagram handle used to be JeromyRome23, which was pretty much a pun of Steve Cook's, which was like Steve Cook _32 or something.
And
like
now he's moved on to Bumstead. He's just saying like,
so
love you, Jez.
Jez has gone through 3 stages. He's gone through the Steve Cook fandom, the Chris Hemsworth fandom.
Oh, the Hemsworth
and
fandom.
The C-Bum.
The thing is, he can pull all 3 of them off. He does have a bit of awe about him too.
Is just a collection of those 3 human beings in one. Yeah. And even there's like I've had a lot of people message me lately. There's a little bit of Pedro Pascal about Jeremy. Like maybe if he was Spanish.
Yeah, there you go.
There's a little bit, but
we'll just have to get him doing an accent. Like, you could probably pull it off.
Yeah, but
crazy.
It's I definitely have those relationships in my life with regards to those different types of friends. One would definitely be my brother, like my real brother, my younger brother Morgan.
Yeah.
That's a funny dynamic in that he's 4.5 years younger than me, and for pretty much my entire life, I have to look after this little kid.
Yeah.
I'm sick of looking after this kid. And then within a day, it was, this is my best mate and I don't have to look after him at all. It just felt like it transitioned to that almost immediately.
Yeah.
And then we've been overseas together and whatnot and traveled. And he's one of my best mates as Jeremy and whatnot as well.
And you're able, you seem to be really good. And because, again, not blowing smoke, Jez speaks really highly of you as well when we talk most days. And how is it as far as like when it's, because obviously you're best mates, are you able to separate the work and friendship?
Yeah,
and keep it very businessy. If there's something he's doing that as a coach or as a boss that his clients, well, you can kind of pull him up and go this and not feel like maybe I shouldn't tell him this because he's my friend.
Yeah,
I struggle with that with Bear Bros because I hired mates and it's like, let's say they'd fuck up and I'm like, I'd be really easy on them as opposed to just do this.
Yeah, in terms of all athletes, for myself, I think my ability to both be pretty professional, but then also empathetic when needed to be or whatnot, and kind of bounce between, you know, really deep relationship and also like a professional responsibility comes from probably my mum, and that having that ability to be empathetic while also, you know, then dad being like, this needs to be done, and that balance there. But in terms of Jeremy or similar, I think that because there is such a deep rooted relationship, and that's why I really focus on relationships with Crabtree Performance. I think that's the core of everything, and it's just an organic, and you're not going to be mates with everybody that you coach,
of course.
But if you can form some relation, like you said with the personal training, if you can find something that relates to them and almost, you know, talk to them in a specific way that is best for them, or discuss things in a way that's best for them, the more you can create that relationship, the more that it does have effect when you do tell them that something needs to be different or something needs to be done. You know, it's not going to carry much weight if you just have been like that from day one and there's no relationship, there's no foundation of friendship with any of those athletes. And I think that's something that I've just organically had the luxury to build because I do care so much about relationship and friendship and whatnot. And that might be with the person who came on last week, or it might be with Jeremy. But as I said, I think the ability to have that relationship be at the core of everything only allows for those conversations to be easier or more effective when you do need to have them. Yeah. Unless you were doing it on the daily, it would just become, you know, kind of desensitized. Yeah,
100%. Going back off some of those quotes I said before, and this is why a lot of the time I love reading stuff like that. And especially over the last couple of years, I've found myself, I don't want to say like go spiritual sort of thing, but very stoic, very philosophical, this sort of stuff. And I love reading about that sort of thing. And again, listening to people speak like that, some things will kind of just go over your head, but then some things you grab and go, oh, that happened to me. And then you transition it to a part in your life where it did. So that whole thing about what's more important, the journey or the destination? And that's really what the question is. And it's like, well, no, what about the company? So I don't know if you know, I started a business with two other mates in Eltham called Resilient. Yep. It was a recovery centre and this sort of stuff. Liam and I, long story short, sold our share out of it at the moment. But what did I love about that? Was it the journey, sort of like, you know, planning it and building it, this sort of stuff, or was it when we finally opened? Or was it it was like at 2 a.m. crying because I was depressed over a breakup, painting the walls with Kane and Liam. Yeah, like two of my best mates. Yeah, like building this shit where like everyone else is asleep and it's 2 a.m. and like learning to plaster walls and shit like that. Like when you look back at it, I remember that. Yeah. Remember, I think it's when I met you where I did the 37 shows in 5 weeks. Yeah. 6 shows in 5 weeks. It's like, did I enjoy the journey? Or when that final show happened, did I enjoy that? When the final show happened, I bawled my eyes out backstage because I'm like, what the fuck do I do now? So I definitely didn't enjoy the destination. The journey, yes, to a point, but it was calling Jeremy at midnight saying, I don't know if I can do this. And he's like, no, you're fine. Like, I remember that. I remember like meeting you. I remember like just hanging out with some people backstage and all the check-ins with Scotty and like talking through that. It's a story for another podcast, but I attempted to do like Everest Base Camp a few years ago. And I got to like 100 meters from the top and had like cerebral edema. I essentially died twice. But it's like, again, obviously I didn't make it to the top. So not necessarily a destination, or, you know, was it like the walking up there? No, I was hanging out with Chris, my ex's brother, my best mate, like just two blokes just raising money for charity. Yeah. Like I remember that. Yeah.
I do think that the company is so important. I think that is the...
Well, that's what you remember.
Yeah,
isn't it? You know?
Even when I've traveled, you know, there's been destinations like the Eiffel Tower or, whatever it may be, the Empire State Building, and you're standing there and you're going, wow. But you remember who you're with, and you remember how they felt about it, and you remember the almost the journey there. Like, I have the most fond memories of my travels are the kind of little things in between, like my brother having to, drop in his suitcases down a flight of stairs when we're trying to rush to a train or whatnot. Not us standing in front of the Eiffel Tower and going, wow, how amazing is that? It's the company and the events that happen in between all those, those things. And I think that's where the depth is.
It's full, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's another couple. I'm going to read another one to you. I love this one. So, have you seen the? I was speaking to a girlfriend last night about it. Have you seen the YouTube video with the ant and the pen? No. Like, do yourself a favor and watch it, because you're thinking, what the fuck are you talking about, ant and a pen? So there's just this piece of paper, right? This ant's crawling on it. This guy draws a circle around the ant, and the ant stays in the circle. It's like it sees this thing, and then it's like a little barricade. So this whole thing about there's this, circle around this ant, and like the ant has created this almost fortress around itself, not of solitude, but he like can't escape it. Yeah. So it's like it's this imaginary fear that we as humans put on ourselves, or this like imaginary handcuff sort of thing. It's like, we can't do that because you've created this imaginary thing. So if I were to dive into that, are you afraid of anything? Is there anything that that you think is holding you back from doing certain things, or you're pretty much like a risk taker and fucking go all out, see what happens?
No, I'm very pessimistic and realistic about things, I think, which both allows me to be someone who takes risk, but also I'm very aware of the risk that I'm taking. I think there's people
like a calculated risk sort of thing.
Yeah, I think that there's people who take risks that don't think about what the risk was until after they've done what they've done. Whereas I think the more I've become experienced and mature in life, the more I've gone, I'm going to do this, but I know that this is the cost of if this doesn't work out the way I wanted to, or vice versa. But I'm scared of, probably the biggest thing I'm scared of is just a lack of success or a lack of fulfillment.
Yeah.
I think I, growing up, obviously wanted to play Aussie rules football, and then not having the availability to do that through, injury and whatnot. I think that there felt like a void of I was intelligent in the things I put effort into, like history and English and PE, but for stuff that, you're drilled into that you need to be good at these things like science and maths and whatnot. I had no interest and no.
Have you used trigonometry since you done? I love that reel that came up I think it came up. We've all seen it, but it's like another day without trigonometry. Yeah. Thanks, math.
The only thing that I need maths for is figuring out the milligram to mil of, and I'm like, I wish I had someone just done a semester on that. Even when clients are asking, how much do I use of this? And I'm like,
yeah.
But no, I was always thinking, what am I going to be? Like, that was growing up. It was just like, how am I going to be successful? How am I going to be fulfilled? I don't want to be nobody.
Yeah.
And not that I wanted to be famous, or not that I wanted to be a celebrity. I would have loved to be in Hollywood as an actor or director or whatever, but not that I ever.
You are, aren't you? You're in Vikings. It's like 7 seasons in or something, isn't it? Yeah.
Funny story about that. We'll dive away. I'll come back
of course.
to it.
Yeah.
Is in Japan, when I was in Japan for the first time in 2022, a Japanese, it's called Nippon News or whatever, which is basically like 7 News for Japan.
Yeah.
They stopped me in the middle of Tokyo in some street and were like, "Can we interview you?" And I was like, "All right."
Sure.
And they're like, they started interviewing me and they're like, "What are you doing here? Like, when did you rap on season whatever of Vikings?" And I'm like, "Do you think I'm Travis Fimmel for real?"
You didn't run with it? You should have ran with it, bro.
And I had like a shaved head and
that could have blown your fame like crazy, because then he could have come out and like, whatever, let's do a reel together.
Yeah, and I was just thinking, it was such a surreal experience. And I literally just like, I'm not Travis Fimmel, I'm sorry. And they were like thinking that I was saying that so I didn't have to be, like I was him saying I didn't have to be interviewed.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, it used to be when I had the shaved head or the shorter hair and the longer beard, it definitely was something that I get more often. Now I've just got the skinny face and the mullet, but
you're dieting, let's be honest,
Yeah. But in regards to what we were saying before with the fear and whatnot, I just always had that cloud of, I just want to be something, or I want to be good at something other than footy or whatnot. And that's, I think, kind of leads into the passion of, like, I feel like I am good at what I do, as much as I'm pessimistic and as much as I'm always thinking, what more can I do and what haven't I done? Or, you know, I do feel like I at least have the ability to help people in what I do. And that to me is fulfillment, and that fulfillment leads to me feeling successful.
Yeah.
Like the like you said, the company or what I'm able to do means so much more to me than how much I'm able to make financially. Yeah.
At the end of the day, like, you know, is it okay to chase money? Of course it is. We're all fucking human. We love money. Who doesn't love money? But that's not your main aim. I know you're out there trying to provide value, and a byproduct of that is I'm making money, you know? And I think that's with everything. I think you and I get along very well in that sense where sometimes I feel guilty not doing anything. I've had admittingly, a very lazy few months. Remember I got sick at the show. I haven't bounced back. Training's been shit, motivation with staff, and it's like, part of me is sort of like, it's okay. You are always on the go. Just chill. But it's like, it's been a bit too long. It's like, fucking get back to work, dude. But it's hard also because, and this is no, you know, bad word against my children or anything, but like sometimes you just can't do stuff when you're with them. And that's like, that's good and bad, right? Because there's things I want to do selfishly, but also don't want to miss them growing up. So if Huddy's like, can we play games? And it's like, yes. So I'll sit there and play like an hour of video games. It's like, oh, fuck, what a waste of an hour. But it's like, it's not, because like he's 6 once. Do you know what I mean? So I think I've learned to change my mindset around that sort of stuff. But I'm always like looking at the next thing, man. Like, what can I do to impact someone? Or, yeah, that's why I wanted to start the podcast. It was a nice little hobby to do and get people out there and start talking and that sort of thing. So
I think it's as well, like it's that subjective nature that you have of yourself being like, I'm doing significantly less than what I was, versus you may be doing significantly more than the next. How old are you?
How old?
Yeah.
I'm 40 on Thursday next week.
So you may be doing significantly more than, I'm sure you obviously look significantly better than 99.9% of 40-year-olds on the planet. And for you, this is obviously a time in which you've done less.
Yeah.
But in terms of, you know, objectively with others in the same position as yourself, maybe you're doing significantly more than the average.
Yeah.
But for you, it feels like, you know, you're doing less than.
Yeah.
So I think it's just that if you, and I work with a lot of athletes, and I think that's where really high successful people come from, is that there's more I can do, there's more I need to do. And it's almost challenging to not do, you know, when you are sitting there, even, you know, last night, 10 p.m, I've finished all my work for the day. There's absolutely nothing left for me to do. And I'm going to sit down and watch a movie, and I'm thinking to myself, am I wasting time here? Like, and that's a constant, I should be editing a reel, or I should be making a post, or I should be reading something, but I've already done that today. So why, you know, having that ability to, and I think that actually leads into you being a better athlete, having the ability, or a better person, you know, having the ability. And that's something I've had a lot of conversation with some of the younger athletes that I coach about, the juniors and stuff, is that they all have this desire to just for the next 10 years do nothing but bodybuilding. And then they get to 30 years old and they haven't, you know, developed financially. They haven't developed relationships. And then maybe what if they haven't had the competitive success they wanted? They resent what it is in which they've done for the last 10 years, rather than let's spend 6, 9, 12 months really clinically pushing towards this goal. And then I want you to spend 2, 3, 4, potentially even 5 months existing as a human being.
Yeah.
So that you can enjoy life, you can enjoy relationships, you can enjoy family. That then allows you to, when you're at 30, have all of those things developed at the same time, and you don't resent what it is in which you've done, and you're able to continue in the sport with regards to longevity for years and years and years because you don't resent it.
Yeah.
So it's just having the ability to see that long game. But I do agree with you in that it's when you're kind of wired that way, it's really challenging.
That's the thing, yeah. And people like, no disrespect to people that, you know, that work the 9 to 5 or whatever. Like, if that's you, awesome. It's never going to be me. Mm-hmm. And I'd rather earn less and be somewhat broke and chasing something than kind of do that. Not saying I don't want to work for anyone. But I think I just love the fact that I'm in control of that and my lifestyle or whatever it may be. I've got a pretty good lifestyle now with how I work things around. But like I said, there's other things I want to do and other things I want to achieve too, right? Yeah.
I fear of going back to where I was, not being able to work for myself or my passions, probably is that one of the main drivers of just continuing to do what I do and wanting to do more. I just, not only can I've never really been great at working with others in a professional status. I think that I'm too opinionated in regard, too confrontational. Like I'll say things pretty directly, whether it's, not that I have a disrespect for authority, or my parents would probably say I do, and friends, but I definitely don't communicate differently. And that probably helps in coaching, being able to coach a really good bodybuilder like Jeremy and not be intimidated as a 26, 27-year-old.
Yeah.
Like, I can't say this to him. But in terms of like that, I don't have the ability to work for anyone other than myself, because I just am too, there's been too many instances, both when I was working in other companies, where I've just said things and, it's not how you speak in the workplace.
Yeah. And it's interesting because, like, let's say, and with respect, you might not have a lot of skin in the game as far as like years, longevity. I've got so many more years on you in the game, but you probably know more than me to a point on certain things, because you've done the study and the research, because it's been more your life. For me, it's been a life, from work and athletes, this sort of stuff. For me, it's more been, I love PT, I love bodybuilding, but I've never really done a lot of prep clients, posing, this sort of stuff as well. So I think that's something I've sort of learned as well over the time. And I think it's very funny seeing, people on Instagram that will compete or whatever and go, I'm now an online coach. Yeah. I would love to almost, remember Undercover Boss?
Yeah.
I would almost love to be a client and hire one of these coaches and then say, oh, can I just see your certificate 3 and 4 and your insurance with this? Yeah. Ghosted. Yeah. Because it's very dangerous in the world we live in, where it's like your usual Cert 3 and Cert 4, you are not allowed to prescribe food, correct? Yeah. Like, you have to have something a little bit more than that. So you can kind of in the email say, hey, like, if I were you, I would suggest this, but it's not like, here's your meal plan, follow it, this is what I suggest, because it's like that person gets food poisoning, you're fucked, because you told them what to eat. 100%. It's a fucking interesting little world, man.
I think that the way social media has, and I've been, like you said, I don't feel like, for me, in terms of, comparatively to you, skin in the game is nothing. But for me, I've been in physique development or bodybuilding since I was, 15. So people my age only got into it when I was creating Crabtree Performance itself. So I feel like for my age, I've got a lot of skin in the game.
Yes.
But in terms of in general, obviously not. And it's been funny to see, like, I've now been involved from a coaching standpoint in the last, since 2021 season B, I've had at least one athlete compete in every season. And I was 22, 23, and I'm walking around backstage and seeing the other coaches like Scotty and stuff there, and they're kind of looking at me thinking like, who is this fucking young kid? And I'm thinking, holy fuck, like, I'm so out of my depth here. Like, don't speak to anyone, just focus on your athlete. Yeah. And slowly over the years, you get the handshake from Scotty and the nod. And
now you're the one backstage that's not that you look down on other people, but you're the one backstage that's walking around and people know who you are,
and
because
you just feel
you're always producing good athletes.
Yeah, but then like you make the conscious effort to when that kid does come through, or that female, whoever it may be, that coach does come through, that you kind of are cordial to them and but like, with that being said, I've always gone by, and even this prep, I'm going to be competing in the Adelaide show, and I will have 8 other athletes competing in that same day, and then about 5 or 6 competing in Gold Coast a week later. I get asked, how are you gonna pick yourself and all these athletes? I like, as much as it may not align with a lot of people, I could care less about myself. Yeah. Like, I will do what I need to do to look as good as I possibly can, but it's not going to come at the cost of any athletes, because I am a coach first and a bodybuilder second.
Yeah, cool.
A lot of what you see on social media with they've done a show and now they're a coach is they're a bodybuilder and they coach as a result of the fact that they think they can make money.
They had a little bit of success in that, yeah.
And I never, like, if you get into it from a financial standpoint, you have success to a certain extent, but it won't be long lasting, because it's
not at all.
You don't have that desire to fulfill those relationships or build that, like I said, I think a lot of what we have in the industry from a coaching standpoint, I don't think anybody sets out to do things badly or incorrectly. I think a lot of coaches set out to do things easily, and easy often can lead to things that aren't in the best interest of the athlete. Whereas if, it's much easier for me to sit there and not go through someone's blood work and just say, yep, all good, and still make the exact same amount. whereas it's significantly more beneficial for the athlete long term to go through that, make sure that you're doing your due diligence as a coach, and build those relationships and have that foundation and whatnot. And with regards to like, I'm nowhere, like, not really super business minded in regards to how I operate Crabtree Performance. It's very much just through those relationships and building foundation. And as a result of better service and better value, the business grows itself. But I've never really thought of it as a business. But with regards to that, like the ability to have the, and it's with regards to bodybuilding as well. I have consults with athletes who want to be coaches, and they're thinking, oh, if I can get 10 clients and make this, then I'm set. It's like, okay, well, if you have those 10 clients for 10 weeks, 100 weeks, X amount of money. What about one client for 100 weeks?
Yeah.
Like, is that not better? It's exact same totality of funds, but it's a completely different experience.
Absolutely.
And I think there's so many focused on the short term, focused on how much I can do now, how much I can make now, rather than building that portfolio of value and relationship and success over time that then just sells itself. Yeah.
Are you a book reader?
I used to be a lot.
Or more Audible?
Yeah. Not I'm a podcast listener.
Yeah.
I used to, if I am to read a book, it would be completely unrelated to anything to do with my work.
Yeah.
It would be fantasy or action or
yeah, okay, yeah. So again, I love the self-development books and this sort of stuff, but again, it's a time thing, so listening to it in the car these days. Yeah. One of the books I read years ago, 7 Ways to Wow Your Customer, and it wasn't a huge book. It was, really well written as far as for, not for dummies, I don't want to say that, but like just little nuggets that you take away. And that was one of those books I studied before where I learned so much about business, where it was like, guilty as charged, you start chasing money. Mm-hmm. Whereas like, how do I just wow this customer? Yeah. And then byproduct that was I was starting to earn money. And even little things, I started looking at it with like, obviously like I love PT and I have a PT business, whatever it may be, but I didn't create that. Bear Bros I created, right? It's my thing. I started that myself. So I'm more passionate on that side of things. And it's like, you start looking in there, it's like, what can I do with this product or to the hand or the other people there, so that they walk away and go, holy fucking shit, you need to book Ryan for this and yada, yada. So not just because he's gorgeous peach, but so for example, like I will buy the hen some flowers and present it to her at the end with a little note inside. And then the girl that organized, I will do something for her at the end, this sort of stuff. The way that I present the tables and all this sort of thing. And you keep adding little things to it. And it's not things that cost money, really. Like a little bit of flowers in the scheme of what I'm making from it is no real damage to the wallet, so to speak. Yeah. But the way that the customer then talks about you afterwards, and I can imagine that's the same as you, whereas like, and again, like I said it before, but Jeremy says nothing but great things about you. Kristen, who I recently met, who's coming to the city, she was meant to come and do some PT with me. I don't know where she's now. I think she's gone by the other gyms.
Yeah.
Right? Hey?
She's in Canada.
Oh, wow. Yeah. But not living there or just hanging out?
Yeah. With her sister, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, where's she gone? Scared of a leg day with Risey. But, so people talking good about you. And that's the end of the day. It's not like you're chasing their money. You're just like, how can I make this person really, really good? So
yeah. I think I operate in how much impact I can have as opposed to how much money I can make. I had this conversation on the phone with my parents only a week ago, and that if you had told me that I could have made $1,000 a week for the rest of my life doing what I do, that would have set me. Like $52,000 a year, I'm happy because I'm having the ability to help and I'm having the impact, and that's all I needed. And I'm not someone, there's been times where you do, like you said, you do chase that money when it first, and I come from like a really well raised middle-class family. Like we never had exorbitant wealth, nor did we ever deal with, any sort of inability to afford things, or at least from what I could perceive. Like I know that now as an adult, there were certain things that my parents really had to work a lot. Like my mom was doing 80-hour weeks as a type 1 diabetic for, her fashion business, and she was head stylist of Westfield for 10 years, and really hurt her own health to provide for me and my brother by working as much as she did, and dad the same. But in terms of like what I was witnessing, I was never short of anything, but I also knew that we didn't have just, the toys and bells and whistles. So I was raised really well, but also conservatively, in that I don't yearn for a lot. But when I did start making a little bit of money, it was, I'll buy this Gucci bag, or I'll buy this, I bought a Holden Maloo ute and a Gucci bag, and Now I buy from Kmart and AS
Yeah,
Colour.
of course,
So,
man. Yeah.
but yeah, those things just mean less and less to you. But you can obviously fall into the trap of chasing that financial progression, and you just run yourself into wall because you can progress in fulfillment forever and impact forever. Like with people speaking to you about myself, that means so much more to me than an extra $100 or an extra $150, and that will be long lasting forever. Whereas when I'm in the ground, they're not going to put my bank balance on the tombstone.
Yeah. That's like, even with, obviously, I'm really passionate about the posing side of things and doing really well with that sense and everything. But sometimes it might be like someone's like, oh, hey, and I was saying to Alex before, where it's like, I'm not doing the podcast to make money.
Yeah.
Dude, it costs me money to do it. Do you know what I mean? So it's a little hobby that I like. But it's funny, I'm starting to get clients from it.
Yeah.
From other stuff. It's like, oh, I was watching the podcast, love what you do, this, blah, blah. I was looking at doing some posing coaching. So it's like, you seem like a really cool dude. Can we do this? But then the other thing I was going to say was like, I love getting a referral sometimes where it's like, oh, can I do some posing work with you? This, yada. And I'd be like, yeah, cool. Sounds good. How did you get in contact with me? And it's like, oh, so-and-so mentioned you. And I'm like, who?
Yeah.
I'd like arrogantly, I love that, man, because it's like, obviously this person has seen me pose and go, dude can fucking move, like contact this guy. And then this other dude contacts, you work, and then I love it. One of the new guys I'm working with at the moment, you might have seen Adam. He's going to do really well in Classic. I'm already calling it now. He's going to do really well. But he's like, I just learned more in 60 minutes than in 6 months with the previous guy. And I'm like, oh, bless. Yeah. If I wasn't off my meds, I'd be crying. So it means the world, bro. Like I'd have that and do it for free. Yeah.
And then there's that fine line that I've actually found with regards to business as well. Like as much as we talk about, we want to do it for impact and value and fulfillment, it's also when you portray that to others and they know that is the case, to then actually, monetize something in a way, you almost feel like you're doing something wrong, like, increasing your prices but in terms of the value, like that's almost just for yourself in terms of this is what I'm able to do. This is what I'm able to provide. My education has significantly increased since, I was charging X amount versus X amount. So not only that, but still having the ability to kind of, hold yourself to a standard or represent, make sure that you're upholding that standard is really important as well.
Well, it's even, like you said, education. Yeah. As far as like the posing thing, it's not like it's education, but like you see me, I'm in that room every fucking day, working on combos or ways to display shit. And then, because it's one thing to be able to pose yourself, but same thing, right? Can I teach you how to pose? Can I teach Jeremy how to pose? So it's like, that's what we were saying on before, that little rant where it's like, you might have someone that looks great into their show. Yeah, can you make Jeff look good? Can you make Kristen look great? This sort of stuff. So can you transition that over? That's what I think with posing too. Like someone might be able to move themselves, but it's like, can you identify on this person's rig what looks good with the different fucking angles and stuff? So
it's just value. Yeah. And I think that in terms of business, and I really try to, as much as possible, refrain from referring to coaching specifically as a business. Obviously, there's administration and there's taxes and there's financial involvement, but I feel like at least Crabtree Performance, and I feel like this is why it's been so successful, is because it feels like a team. It feels like an organically grown team that kind of operates as opposed to like a business entity or a proprietary limited or whatever it may be. But I think with regards to the business side of things, when people either do want to pay for something or don't want to pay for something, it comes down to just value objection. Like, is what they're going to be paying, do they value what you're going to be giving them? And if they feel like they do value that, like the value is enough to pay for this, it's like you're not going to pay for a house if you feel like it's not going to be valuable, or you're not going to pay for a service if you feel like that you're not getting the value from that. So the more value you can provide as a result of impact and relationship and success, and even if it's not the success of the athlete in which is coming on board, but the success of others that they feel they can have as well, that's all just value creation. And then there's less objection to the value. Whereas if you just come off Instagram and you've competed in a show and you've never, you don't have any education, you don't have any understanding, and you say, my coaching is $200 a week, someone's going to look at that and go, what value do I get? Where's the value in that?
Yeah.
So
with, I'll ask you a question now and then I'll tell you a little thing I heard recently. I'd love to get your thoughts on it. But so a very sort of stoic sort of question too, but it's like, when I say, are you happy with where you are now? did you expect to be further or less, or development in a certain way? Like one door opens, another door closes. Have you ever sort of, when we sort of speak spiritual like that, have you ever thought about that sort of stuff?
Yeah, with my mum, I've spoken about it a little bit. She's not religious, but she's definitely, and dad is the complete opposite, so it makes for a funny dynamic. And that's, I think, like why I've got a good kind of ability to kind of mold myself between different athletes and different personalities and be really personable, because I have grown up in a different environment in that way. But mum is quite spiritual, not in the kind of crazy kooky way, but things happen for a reason, and this is why this happens and whatnot. And dad is just like, this just happened because it did, you know.
Yeah. So, okay. So both those answers are really, really good as far as like what your parents believe in. So have you heard about the Chinese parable of the boy and the horse? No. It's I heard it from Alex Hormozy, right, when we spoke on the phone because we're mates, all right, whatever. But it's like, father buys the boy a horse. It's like, oh my God, you're so lucky. And the dad's like, we'll see. Boy falls off the horse, breaks his leg. Oh my God, that's the worst thing that could ever happen. We'll see. War breaks out. All the kids get like drafted into war, but the kid doesn't go because he's got a broken leg. Oh my God, you're so lucky you don't have to go to war. We'll see. So it's like, you don't know if it's good news or bad news until time plays out and you die. Yeah. But then when you die, you don't care because you'll be dead. Yeah. It's so fucked when you think about it, because it's like, you can think about so many things that have happened in your life where it's like, is this a good or bad thing? You don't know. You just don't know. And I will say the same thing, like without being too, full frontal with it, but it's like, the divorce that happened with my ex. We get along great now. Was it a good thing that happened or not? I don't know. Yeah. Like I could meet this beautiful woman and fall in love again, get married, this sort of stuff, lead on to live a successful, happy, beautiful life. Oh, it was a good thing that happened. Or I could be a junkie on the side of the road and it's like, fuck, it wasn't a good thing. But you just don't know, do you?
No. And I think but
you have to have that mindset to.
With your question and how that kind of relates back to this, I think that if you have asked me when I was 18, if I would have been happy with where I'm at now, I would have been blown away. I would have genuinely been, not only with regards to my ability to develop myself, like personally, my physique, but from a coaching standpoint or from a fulfillment standpoint or being successful, with value and whatnot, I would be content. I would be like, why are you still doing anything? Like, just sit back and do nothing for the rest. That would be what my 18-year-old self would say. But in the moment, I feel like as I've gone through, and I was speaking about it before, your values change and you value different things with regards to the journey, the destination and company. I value so much more or so much differently to what I valued when I was starting Crabtree Performance than what I do now. And I think if I was still had those identifiable values, I'd probably think I'm not successful enough. I need to do more. I need to be better. And I still think those things. Like I want to be, I still know there's more to learn in coaching. I still know there's more education I can have, more experience, more development I can have as regards to the coaches that are with me, Jeremy, Jake, and so forth. And I think there's, an entire European continent to be conquered from a coaching standpoint out there.
Yeah.
But with regards to myself now, as I said before, if you had told me with how I value things now, if you had told me that I have the ability to, make $1,000 a week and afford groceries and not have to worry about it, that's all I need. And if I have that company, if I have those people that believe in me, if I have a home somewhere, like I'd love to just, be chilling in the Austrian countryside and, and be relatively obviously present socially online because of the business, and come and do the seasons with Crabtree Performance each and every year, whether it's in Australia or whatnot, but then revert back to my little hideaway. And that's all I need. All I need is the ability to afford groceries, the ability to have a little hobby farm. And that's my definition of success.
Yeah.
If you had told me that, when I would have been, why the fuck do you want that? Why don't you want to go live in a penthouse in New York City? Like you need to do more. But so both from a personal standpoint, I definitely feel like there's more that I can do, but from a Crabtree Performance standpoint, I'm really satisfied with where it's at, but I know there's still more that can happen. I think if I was to be relatively honest with myself and say there's anything that I probably would have liked to have developed, or was probably like my own emotions and things like that. Like growing up, I do lend towards my dad's kind of side of things and would shy away from addressing things and whatnot. And that affected, how I spoke about myself and things like that. And, But yeah, that's probably been over the last 2 years since coming out of that show in season B for 2023. That's been where the most development for myself has happened. But it's challenging. I did a post in 2023 about, the challenge a coach faces when all their emotional energy is pertaining to the athletes they coach. You don't have a lot left for yourself. And when you work in that space to then have the energy to kind of address anything that you may need to address yourself personally is really challenging. Not for every coach, but when you do weight so heavily how your athletes feel and how they're progressing in both life and whatnot, you can almost take on too much responsibility from an emotional standpoint.
Yeah. It's funny. You already answered this, so I won't technically ask it. It's the question I've asked all my guests, which was like, how do you define success and have you found it? So you pretty much answered that. But it's funny how success changes either as you get older or whatever. Like you thought you were successful to so-and-so, whatever it may be. Have you ever read the book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck?
Yeah.
One of my favorite. All right. So you'll obviously know the story I'm getting at here, but I wanted to share it because it was something I wanted to say on one of the podcasts. But obviously, like one person's definition of success is going to be different to another. So obviously, and you'll know as I get into your story, but it's like, there was a band, they were doing their thing. The lead singer of one of the bands or whatever, and the other one were like, look, we don't like the way you're acting. There's a lot of drugs involved. You're drunk, doing all this stuff. We're going to fire you. We're going to kick you out. He's like, well, no, I'm a part of this as much as you are. It's like, no, look, you're outvoted 3 against 1, whatever. So this guy leads away and he's like, I'm going to become so damn successful that I'm going to put you all to shame. You're going to wish you never fired me, this sort of stuff. This guy goes on to be one of the most amazing heavy metal lead singers of all time. Groupies, endless sex, drugs, money, houses, all this stuff. And his name's like Dave Mustaine, right? So lead singer of Megadeth. The only issue is he never deemed himself successful because the band that kicked him out was Metallica.
Yeah.
It's fucked, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's like, because it's Metallica, arguably the greatest band in the history of the world.
Like we said before, objective, subjective.
Yeah.
Subjectively, I'm not success. Objectively, I am successful.
Yes.
But yeah, that's crazy.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Interesting story.
The other one, I'll finish with a couple of things here. Did you read Mark Manson's other book, Everything is Fucked?
No.
I didn't like that as much, but the very opening of the book, it's funny because the opening of the book got me hooked. Yeah. And then I think it just kind of like faded out. But how do you pronounce? I always mix it. Is it Auschwitz? Like, how do you?
Auschwitz.
Auschwitz. Okay.
I think like Jewish people would say Auschwitz.
Auschwitz.
I've been there. Yeah.
I'll just call it Auschwitz as an Aussie. Yeah. But this guy deliberately got himself caught, okay, to go undercover, to then report back to, his superiors, for example, about what was happening at this camp. The torture side of things, like, how many people are in there. So he went in there and he was in there for about 9 months. Getting tortured. Sorry?
In the war?
Yes. Yeah. Getting tortured, getting all the stuff with there, like the food stuff, watching people die. And he's trying to like coup and escape. And he's like, this is what I'm going to do. I found out that if, I work at the bakery and, disguise myself or whatever, when you throw the dodgy bread out or whatever, I can literally cut a hole and walk through. Everyone's like, no, not going to do it. Like no one wanted to go with him. So he's like, well, fuck yeah, I'll just go. So after 9 months, he makes his escape. He goes back and he reports back to all his superiors. And it's like, this is what's happening. This is what's happening. But because he didn't bring anyone back, it like looked bad on him. And all these superiors are like, almost now torturing him. They imprisoned him and ended up killing him, right? Yet we complain that the air conditioner is broken. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's funny, like, as I get older, I do think about that because I like, we're human. We complain about the stupidest shit. No, I'm stuck at a red light again. But I know it's obviously all in context, but this guy obviously deliberately got himself caught to go in there to try and help people. Yeah. And we're like, damn, the aircon's not working. Life's shit. Yeah, 100%. Puts it in perspective, doesn't it, sometimes?
Yeah. Well, for me, like I love history, especially that period of history.
Yes.
And my great-grandfather, who my middle name is named after Charles, he was 18 years old in World War One. Left the Wimmera, Garok and Nadimuck, and went to war in World War One and fighting in the trenches and stuff like that. And he wrote little diary inscriptions and sent them back to his mum.
That's cool.
And we've been able to read most of them or decipher. They're kind of hard to read with their amazing cursive back then.
I can imagine, yeah.
The art of cursive writing is no longer. But there's one I share every Anzac Day. Do you actually mind if I read it?
Please do. Go for it. Please get it out. Go for it.
Friday, January 18th, 1918. Private Charles Henry Locke Crabtree, my great-grandfather, he was 19 at the time. He wrote, "My arm is almost better now, but it aches a little bit at times. It was cut out a bit, and some pieces of shrapnel are still not out yet. I am lucky to be alive. I don't think I told you about anything about the stunt, so I may as well tell you in this letter. I had only been back with my battalion 6 weeks when we went in. We left some of the old trenches at about 1:30 a.m. It had been great weather, but just before we started to move up, the rain commenced, which made the ground like slippery glass. I had a box of bombs beside my ammunition, 72 hours of rations, and some other gear. It was very crook traveling there and took us around 4 hours. We lay out in the shell holes for about half an hour. Then order came to get ready and over we went. The corporal in my section was telling me to follow him, but it was impossible to see him in the dark and midst of it all. I streaked off on my own and got mixed up with the other company. The corporal I was trying to follow initially and Scotty Heap went into our own barrage and were all killed, so I was fortunate to lose them. We met very little opposition in the first and second objectives. We did run into a few poor old Huns. They were terribly scared, and no wonder. The barrage was good, although many of our own men were killed by friendly fire in the darkness. After about 4 hours, all the boys were very confident of success, so I had a doze for a few minutes, taking advantage of the shell holes. Then the barrage lifted, and away we went again. The Fritz kept machine guns firing at us till the boys got on the flank and routed them out. The gunners got very little mercy from our boys till we had captured all the remaining Fritz that were alive. Things got pretty quiet, so we started to dig in until someone brought word over that the Huns were advancing. So they told a few of us that were good shots to go and have a crack at them. I got on top of a hill that hid me from view and blazed away for a good while. The old rifle was pretty dirty after the mud and stuff we had come through for that 4 hours. As far as I could see, they were a reconnoitering party and were hopping from one shell hole to another, which gave me some pretty good targets to shoot at. I don't know how many I got, but I supposed I bagged a fair few. I am glad it was not me who was being shot at. The officer then sent me a few messages, which is when the shell hole got me. I was about 60 yards from my mates, and I did it in good time, while bleeding like a pig. One of the whiz bang got me, sorry. One of the pieces had cut a vein in my arm. They bound me up very rough, I must say, but the best they could under the circumstances. I think they call it a whiz bang that got me. It burst up into very small pieces. Bert was wounded in the head. Herb McKay also got hit, and Ray was killed. These are friends from back home. Yeah. I feel so sorry for his people, but this is war, and those at home must always be prepared to bear good news or bad news about us. And if some of us are killed, they must not fret, but be comforted when they remember that their boys had been men, not cowards, and had fallen doing their duty toward their king and the country they love. I have now been marked for active service again, so I suppose I will be going back. That last paragraph, when you're on 150 grams of carbs and you feel like you're hungry, all I have to do is read that story.
19 too, man.
Yeah, and I'm 27 now, and I think that, things are hard. To do that at 19, to be in that position at 19, 20, 21, starving, crawling through freezing cold mud, being shot at by a machine gun, being cut up by a whiz bang, and then having that level of, resilience to just go back to it. They just fucking built different back then. So when you have that ability to be objective when you can, stuff like that really helps. And that's why, people are like, oh, how are you coaching and also competing at the same time? Like, yeah, it's stressful, but in the grand scheme of things, it's fuck all compared to something like that. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that. That's awesome, man. It reminds me just quickly of, I was quite close with my pop. He was in the war as well. When he came back, he, like all of them, never shared stories, never ever told anyone what it was. My dad never ever knew what ever happened. But I remember very vividly, I would have been about 6 or 7 years old, and I was sitting on his lap, and then, because he had this huge hole in his forehead, I used to put my finger in it like this, and I go, what's this? Yeah. And then he started telling me the story, and Dad only told me later that Dad never heard. So he's like, he crept around the corner, so to speak, to go, I'm going to fucking listen to this. So he was, it was just a war injury, and he was in a ditch, and his mate had his leg blown off, and, gunfire, whatever it may be, and everyone's like, abandoned. And Pop's like, no, Harry, his name was. So he's gone out, got him, started dragging him grenade hits, shrapnel straight in the head, knocked him complete out, put a hole in his head, and now they're both there. And it's like, abandon. Another mate of Harry's like, nah. So Harry, this other dude comes in, pulls both of them in the ditch. I wouldn't be here, bro. Yeah. So it's like, again, like everything's fucked or whatever. It's just like, without that, like, this is where that whole fucking crazy universe thing happens, where it's like, you know, he gives, well, not him, his partner gives birth to dad, you know, whatever it may be. Dad meets mum, fucking, it's just fucked, man.
It is correct. That's where, you know, as I said, both my parents are very different in regards to how they view things, and mum's very universal and spiritual and dad isn't. Dad more or less isn't, because grandma and grandpa, my great-grandpa's son was very religious. So my grandpa is very religious, and dad had that drilled into him. So he was almost like religion almost. So that's why he's become, or he is very pessimistic and very realist. But it is interesting in that, like, even myself not being super universal or spiritual, reading stuff like that and seeing that what eventually ended up happening with Charles, my great-grandfather, was his whole team basically was killed, and he was wounded in the glute, and that took him out of hospital, or that took him to hospital. That whole team died. He then met my great-grandma, and that's how I'm here. And if he had have continued with that team, be dead, I would have never existed. My grandfather would have never existed. My dad would have never existed. So there are a billion different things that have to universally align for you to exist. Is
well, it's like crazy. That Gary Vee thing, right? He's very famous for saying that. It's like the chance of you being alive right now, you know, this sort of stuff. 3 quick questions to finish. How do you define entrepreneurship in a quick sentence?
I wouldn't describe myself as one.
Really?
Yeah.
You start a business, you got employees, you're not working for anyone. Technically you are.
Just like I said before, just being able to impact, the more impact you can have. Like I'd rather have consequential, continual, repetitive impact as opposed to businesses created. So
you know what mine is? What? Jump off a cliff and build a plane on the way down.
You know what? I actually, I'm just going
to... I stole that. A mentor of mine told me that, and I'm like, that is fucking brilliant.
Not that it's going to ever relate to me, nor would I need it to, but when you always think, how do these, why do these entrepreneurs or businessmen, why do they fly private? Like, that's so expensive.
Yeah.
But they lose the money that they would spend if they on that, like they earn back the money that they make flying on that thing in the time they've flown on it.
Yeah.
And for them to not work during that duration also is losing money.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's probably the difference. When you make so much money that the time in which it takes to fly on a private jet, you make that money back. That's entrepreneurship.
Now, we couldn't end without doing it. Favorite Star Wars movie?
Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, I'm with you. 100%. Chills. You can't see it,
Although,
but fucking chills.
Like I always preface this. I think the best technical film is The Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
The one that means the most to me and that I love the most is Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, I love seeing him turn, man. Yeah. There's that one scene, it used to be my deadlift video where, when before he goes, it's horrible, before he goes and kills the kids, but he's walking up the stairs and then that music hits. I'm just like, I got a deadlift, I've got to do something. Temple, it's like coming every time.
Yeah.
Favorite Superman movie? Don't ruin the last one though, because I haven't seen it yet.
Very similar now, to be honest. I think that one that means the most to me is, or the one that my most favorite is probably the most recent one.
Yeah, cool.
And the one that means the most, or I think is the best technical film, is the Superman 1978 with Christopher Reeve.
The first Reeve one. Yeah. Agree. Like there's something about that first one that's just very like, holy shit.
I just feel like I could put that on, and no matter how depressed or sad, I would just feel uplifted and happy.
Yeah. I love number 2 of the old one with that, where the Phantom Zone and that sort of stuff and whatever, and Zod and everything, because that's just crazy. And me and my dad have this really funny relationship. Oh my God, I got to tell you this one more story. Have I got 3 minutes, Al? Good. So like in my phone, he's saved as Jarrell and I'm Kal-El in his. We're fucked. But anyway, I got my wisdom teeth out when I was like 19 or whatever, and he came to the hospital with me, and like, we were about to draw blood. Really hot 19-year-old nurse is like, okay, about to draw blood, and Dad goes, well, no. You're not going to be able to do that. And I'm like, what? And she's like, what? And he goes, see, I found him in a barn when I was a kid. I'm like, Dad, not now. No, not in front of her. No. But then the funny thing was, she tried to take blood and wouldn't pierce the skin. And I'm kind of like, I've looked like this, Dad's looked like this. She's gone like that. But she had that 18-inch blunt. It was a little fault on her. But the look on all of our faces, there was this disappointment where I was like, I thought I was from fucking Krypton, damn it.
I used to run around school and I thought if I run fast enough, the super speed will come eventually. Like, I just got to keep going, and it just never would.
It never happened. Fuck's sake. Where can people find you? Obviously, Crabtree Performance and Taylor Crabtree Instagram?
In the back arse of Austria, hopefully. So
Yes.
Crabtree Performance on Instagram is obviously where the coaching stuff is.
Yep.
Taylor Crabtree on Instagram, and everywhere else, just search my name, you'll find something, I suppose.
Yeah. Are you getting back into the YouTube anytime soon, or
it's
tough, man.
I don't really have. I like we spoke about before with the film. Like, I only really loved doing YouTube because I loved the creation side of it. Like, I loved editing and creating little skits and planning out how the video was going to go. I don't really like being in front of the camera and being like, that's not really what I enjoy.
Yep.
Like, so with as busy as I am now, I don't have the ability to do that creational side of things. I'd have to hire someone to do it for me. And then I don't have the joy of doing it in the first place isn't there if I'm not able to do that. So if I ever have time where I can sit and edit some things, then I would absolutely, but it's just not a medium that provides a lot of value for me at the moment, unfortunately. I'm happy to be in other people's stuff like this.
Yeah, for sure. No, and I appreciate you making the trip all the way from Adelaide, 9-hour drive just for this. You've got nothing else on this weekend at all, have you?
No.
He does. He's got some athletes on at the Natural Show. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me once again. This has been an amazing conversation. We dove into a lot of different stuff. Hope you got a lot of value out of it. Until next time, give Taylor a follow. He will be competing in 7-8 weeks?
7 weeks from Sunday, yeah.
You're looking pretty good, Nick. I'm looking forward to it. Heavies or under 100?
I'll be under 100.
Yeah. Glad I didn't do this season. Thank you, mate. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Peace out, team.